Your Highness, good evening.
Good evening.
Reza Pahlavi. You were in Paris during the terrible terrorist attacks, which struck France very harshly. How do you judge this kind of situation in which now France is involved in a war with the Islamic State?
Let me first of all present my most sincere condolences to the great French nation, and I share with them their grief on this national day of mourning. I would like to say that it also evokes in me some sad memories of when our dissidents were assassinated on European soil, including France, such as our late Prime Minister Shapur Bakhtiar and the terror of a Kurdish leader in the Mykonos restaurant, as well as my nephew and so many others. But why France? France is, after all, a country of Voltaire and Montesquieu and de Tocqueville. They represent the values of humanity and liberty and secularism, which is the exact antithesis of like-minded people who are at war with such values. And that's the point we should not forget. France has been targeted as the most clear representative of these values. So it is a war of values at the end of the day.
Do you think France is paying the price for laxism versus the rise of Muslim fundamentalism or radical Islam, which dates back to years ago, started years ago?
I believe that the root of the problem is this false interpretation that there can be pacific coexistence with that kind of mentality and ideology together with the free world as we know it. As a result, we always try to negotiate a modus vivendi, which cannot happen. As we see clearly, you have a redoubtable adversary who will stop at nothing to achieve their sinister ends. The only way to combat and eradicate the problem is to make sure that those who stand for the same common values ultimately prevail. This is not something that can be negotiated. This is something that needs to be fought to the very end.
Iranian President Rouhani, who is your opponent, cancelled his state visit to France and declared, after what happened in Paris, after the tragedy the French is a victim of, that the terrorist attacks are a crime against humanity. Do you share his purposes?
You know, I cannot believe the gall that the system has, including Mr. Rouhani, who, by the way, let's not forget, at the time he was in charge of the Supreme Council of Security, was importing the very same radicals from Palestine and Syria to come and crack down on Iranian protesters, whether it was back in 1997 in the student movement or even in 2009 during the Green Movement. For them to pretend like they care about this and are against terrorism, while they were the godfathers of the entire ideology of fanatical and terroristic Islam in the name of politicized Islam, is to me incredulous.
Do you think that the eradication of Daesh or Islamic State could get through the instauration of a huge coalition at the political level, military level, including Russia with President Putin, but also the Islamic State, the Iranian Islamic Republic?
Russia certainly, but Iran, let's judge what's happening on the field. We all know that the Iranian regime has the capability, through the Revolutionary Guards or what other means at their disposal. Have they yet to actually target Daesh? Who is fighting Daesh? It's mostly the Kurds. We have yet to see any entire entanglement. Most of Daesh is basically a mercenary army. Half of them are the former generals who, as a result of the politics that led to the changes in Iraq, has led to the formation. And mercenaries don't work for their own account. We have to see who benefits from all this. And at the end of the day, I would say that in fact it's the Islamic regime that benefits most from these circumstances. Because at the end of the day, the values that are shared between Daesh and the Islamic Republic, whether one is Sunni or Shia, is not the issue. The issue is that what they share together is this antagonism to the free world. Mostly the United States of America, Europe, of course, or any of its allies. Why? Because they are trying to prevail on their ideology, which is, as I said, is incompatible with all the values that the coalition you're talking about shares. So it can't be a tactical issue. It has to be a fundamental issue.
A few days ago, or 3 days ago, I guess, Iranian president, again, Rouhani, talked to a French TV network and said that he still, I quote him, he still denies to Israel the right to exist. Do you think it's possible to have, as a partner, such a country, the Iranian Islamic Republic, which Mr. Obama would like to have as an ally to stabilize Middle East, Mr. Obama and some of his Western partners like France. Can we accept that?
Again, it gets back to the point I made earlier. Can there be a pacific coexistence for a world that believes and goes by the international norms that Israel is a country represented at the United Nations as a sovereign state, and for one country or one regime, it's not the country, it's the regime again, that denies that fact, that has shown its animosity. It's not by coincidence. It's part of their DNA. They need to export an ideology to the four corners of the world. They would like to transform Élysée and the White House to a mosque if they could. And so, let alone Israel. But consider this. What I find stupefying is that key countries in the region, Israel included, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, even Turkey to some extent, or Egypt, they have been warning the West time and again where the source of the problem is. And yet, we don't hear them, we don't listen to them, and we keep falling in the same mistakes one after the other that has been made in the West.
Globally, to end this conversation, would you say, President Obama, you are naive, you are gullible, wake up? And would you say to Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, you are right, go on being tough?
What I would say, Christian, is that to combat this problem, we need to have firm, decisive leaders who have the vision and the courage to stand up to the challenge. The other side is ready and willing to die for what they believe in. We in this world, if we want to ultimately eradicate the problem, we have to show the same degree of bravery, sacrifice, and most importantly, the audacity to call their bluff and go for it and be united in this struggle, because we will all stand to benefit by a complete change in the circumstances of the Middle East.
Your Highness Reza Pahlavi, many thanks.
Thanks to you.
The son of the